No 5 a.m. alarms, no cold showers, no app that locks your phone in a plastic box until you have earned your freedom back. I tried all of that, and every version of it lasted about 11 days before I quietly went back to being the person who opens the document, stares at it, and then decides the kitchen needs cleaning. What actually worked was smaller than any of it. 9 changes. Each takes under a minute to set up. None of them require you to become a different person by Monday. And the strange part is that the first 4 are not about discipline at all. They are about removing a decision you did not know you were making. 1. Shrink the first move until it is embarrassing. For years, my to-do list said things like, write the report. Every single day, the same 4 words, sliding down the page like a debt. The change was this. I stopped writing the task and started writing the first physical move. Open the report file. Type 1 bad sentence. That is the whole commitment.
Here is what is actually happening in your head. Procrastination is not laziness, and it is not a character flaw. It is a mood repair strategy. Your brain looks at a big, undefined task, feels a small spike of dread, and then hands you a tiny reward for avoiding it. Scrolling feels good, precisely because the alternative felt bad for half a second. A one-sentence commitment produces no dread. There is nothing to avoid, so the avoidance system never switches on, and you slip past the hardest part of any task, which is not the work, it is the crossing. Almost nobody stops after the one sentence. 10 minutes later, you are still going, not because you found willpower somewhere, but because the friction was never in the work, it was in the doorway. The catch is that you have to genuinely mean it. If the one sentence is secretly a trick to get yourself working for 2 hours, your brain notices within a week and starts negotiating again.
Let the one sentence be enough on the days when it is all you have. 2. Stop in the middle, never at the end. This one felt wrong for months, and it is now the change I would keep if I could only keep one. I used to work until a task was finished or until I was fried, whichever came first. Then the next day I would sit down in front of a blank nothing and lose 40 minutes finding my way back in. Now, I stop while I still know exactly what comes next. Mid-paragraph, mid-function, halfway through the second slide. An unfinished thing sits in your memory differently than a finished one. Waiters remember the orders they are still carrying and forget them the moment the plates land. Your brain does the same with work. Leave a task half open and it keeps a light on, quietly, in the background, and returning to it stops feeling like starting. The next morning, there is no blank page. There is a sentence with no ending, and finishing a sentence is not a decision. It is a reflex.
3. Name the next action, not the project. Look at whatever has been on your list the longest. I will guess it is not a task. It is a category. Sort out finances. Fix the website. Deal with the car. None of these can be done. They can only be worried about, which is why they have lived on your list since spring. I made a rule that nothing goes on my list unless I can picture the first 60 seconds of it. Not sort out finances, but open the bank app and screenshot last month's total. Not fix the website, but find the login email. The reason this works is that a vague task forces you to plan and execute at the same moment, and planning is the expensive part. Every time you glance at the vague version, you pay a little planning tax, feel tired, and look away. That is the whole loop. You have been paying that tax daily for months without ever doing the task. Write the 60 seconds down once, and you never pay it again.
The task stops being a cloud you have to look away from and becomes a small, specific thing sitting on a list, waiting, harmless.
4. Move the friction onto the distraction. Willpower is a terrible security system. It works when you are rested and fails at exactly the hour you need it. So I stopped defending myself and started defending the distraction. Phone in a different room, not face down on the desk. Logged out of the sites, not just closed. Password saved somewhere annoying to reach. None of this makes distraction impossible. That is not the goal. It makes distraction cost about 30 seconds of deliberate effort, and 30 seconds is long enough for the honest part of your brain to catch up and ask what you are doing. The urge to check your phone has a lifespan of roughly 90 seconds if you do not feed it. Almost every anti-procrastination trick that works is really just a way of surviving that 90 seconds without a plan. Put the phone in another room and you win by default, without a fight, which is the only reliable way to win over the long run.
Every system that depends on you being strong in the moment is a system that will collapse on your worst week, and your worst week is the one that decides whether any any of this sticks. 5. Decide tomorrow's one task tonight. Morning you is not a strategist. Morning you is a tired animal looking for the path of least resistance. And if you hand that person an open calendar and a vague sense of obligation, they will pick email every time. So the night before, in under a minute, I write down one thing, not a plan, one task with a time and a place attached. 9:30 at the desk, the client draft. Deciding in advance moves the choice out of the moment when you are least equipped to make it. It also removes the small negotiation that happens every morning, the one where you scan your options and unconsciously rank them by how uncomfortable they feel. There is no ranking if there is only one item. That covers the mechanics.
The last 4 are the ones that actually changed how the work felt, and the 4th of them is the one I resisted the longest. 6. Set a finish time, not a start time. I used to schedule when I would begin. That is a promise to a version of me who does not exist yet. Now I schedule when I have to stop. The draft ends at 11, finished or not. The email session ends in 20 minutes. Work expands to fill whatever space you give it, and an open-ended afternoon is not generous, it is dangerous. When there is no end, there is no reason for any particular minute to matter, so none of them do. You drift, you polish, you research one more thing. A hard stop creates urgency without creating pressure, because the deadline is about time spent, not quality achieved. You cannot fail it, you can only arrive at it. And knowing the end exists changes how you spend the middle. You stop wandering, because wandering now has a visible cost.
And the version you produce inside a shrinking window is almost always good enough, which brings me to the belief that was doing more damage than any of my habits. 7. Do the ugly version on purpose. Most of what looks like procrastination is perfectionism wearing a disguise. You are not avoiding the work, you are avoiding producing something bad. And since anything you make in the first hour will be bad, you protect yourself by making nothing at all. The change was giving myself permission, in advance, to produce something poor. A first draft written badly on purpose, a rough sketch with the wrong colors, a version I would never show anyone. It sounds like lowering your standards. It is the opposite. You cannot edit a blank page, and editing is where quality actually comes from. Making the bad version is not a detour around the good version. It is the only road to it. The moment I stopped requiring the first attempt to be right, starting stopped being frightening.
There was nothing left to protect.
8. Move your body before you move your mind. I spent years waiting to feel ready. Ready never arrived on schedule, and I treated that as evidence about my character rather than a scheduling error. Now, when I notice I am stalling, I do not think my way out. I stand up and walk for 2 minutes, up the stairs, around the room, to the door, and back. Motivation is not the thing that produces action. It is usually a byproduct of it. Your state of mind follows your body far more reliably than your body follows your state of mind, which means that waiting to feel like working is waiting for an effect to arrive before its cause. 2 minutes of movement changes your physical state, and your reluctance, which felt like a deep truth about you, turns out to have been mostly a slump in a chair. 9. Forgive the missed day immediately. This is the one I would have skipped, and it may be the most powerful thing on the list. Miss a day, and the standard response is a quiet flood of self-criticism. You call yourself lazy, undisciplined, hopeless. It feels like accountability. It is not. Remember what procrastination actually is. It is mood repair. Anything that makes you feel worse about a task makes you more likely to avoid it again tomorrow. So punishing yourself for missing Monday is a reliable method for missing Tuesday. The guilt attaches itself to the work, and now the work is something you flinch from. Students who forgive themselves for putting off studying procrastinate less on the next exam than students who do not. Not because forgiveness is nice, but because it strips the dread off the task and leaves it as a plain thing you can pick up again. So the rule is simple. Missed a day? No commentary. Note it, drop it, and do the one-sentence version tomorrow. No recovery plan, no making up for it, no promising yourself a double session to balance the books. The debt you think you owe is imaginary, and paying it is how most people quit. 9 changes. Not one of them requires you to become disciplined, and that is the point. Discipline is what you need when the system is fighting you. Build a system that is not fighting you, and what is left is not willpower. It is just a Tuesday where the work got done, and then another one, and eventually a version of you who does not think of himself as someone who struggles with this at all.